Well, now we have a Fox 13 investigation. A local soldier collapsed and died during a training exercise. And when this happened just about 2 years ago, the Army called it an accident. But tonight, our investigative reporter Doug Smith shows us why the soldier's father believes the Army is covering up what really killed his son.
To listen to your voice messages, press 2. First, state voice message.
Hey, Darren. Back from the fort.
The fort is Fort Bragg, North Carolina, where Private First Class Aaron Murberg trained to be a Green Beret. His father, Mike Murberg, listens to this voicemail message from Aaron every day.
I love you. I want to see you soon.
They broke him down and they rebuilt him, and they rebuilt him as a great young man. They really did.
A bright future scholar at the University of Florida, after 1 year, Aaron put college on hold because he wanted to do something bigger with his life. He enlisted and earned a spot at the Army's John F. Kennedy Special Warfare Center.
That's what he wanted to do, and everything he wanted to do, he was very good at.
He worked harder than ever before, making his father and sister Erica proud.
When their physical training was over, he would be out there an extra 45 minutes on the obstacle course, trying to make himself a better soldier, a better human being.
And he was almost there, just one final test. Not an endurance test or survival training. It was a mapping exercise where soldiers are sent out alone. As an experienced hunter, Aaron Murberg felt confident he could handle it.
This was supposed to be a cakewalk for him.
But something happened out here in North Carolina in the Hoffman training area. On a June day during a record-breaking heat wave, Aaron Murberg went into the woods and never came out. He never even tried to activate his GPS tracking beacon to call for help. Soldiers found his body at this spot, a spot his father needed to see for himself.
All I could do was fall to my knees and weep. To see the grass still matted from where he fell. And that's where he laid for 24 hours until they found him.
His family buried him without knowing what caused his death. Months later, the Army had an answer. Cause of death? Snake envenomation. Manner of death? Accident. Bitten on the hand by this water moccasin that the Army captured and killed. The autopsy report noted discoloration of the left hand, which was attributed to multiple bites from a venomous snake. He tried to accept it, but as months passed, Mike Murberg, an Ivy League-educated lawyer, began to have doubts and started asking for all the records.
You call it the snakebite story.
Yeah, it is. It's nothing but a snakebite story.
The most important thing was to get the documents and the photographs.
Pinellas County Medical Examiner John Thogmartin agreed to take a look at the case for the family. He reviewed all of the Army's evidence.
If you look at what's going on, it's probably some sort of sudden event that took over his ability to be conscious and make conscious decisions in a relatively rapid fashion, so he couldn't activate his beacon prior to becoming incapacitated. And that's not consistent with a snake bite.
Dr. Thogmartin says if Private Murberg had been bitten on the hand by a snake, he would have had plenty of time to signal for help. And looking at the autopsy photos, he noticed something else.
Even in his state of decomposition, you could probably tell that there would be something wrong with one hand versus the other hand.
But the pictures don't show that.
They don't show that. No, his hands look exactly the same. They're symmetrical. They're perfect.
We saw the pictures of the hands where the snake bite supposedly took place, but there were no bites. No puncture marks, a couple of scratches.
On behalf of the family, Congressman Bill Young went straight to the top and got the Army to send Dr. Thogmartin all the records and photos.
The picture of the area that the Army finally sent to him last week showed that he dropped his pack one place, he dropped something else another place, and his body was found in a third location.
What does that tell you?
It tells me that he was disoriented for some reason, either dehydration or exhaustion.
This looks like heat exhaustion.
It could easily be heat exhaustion. The anatomic findings are consistent.
Mike Murberg believes the Army found and killed this snake so nobody's career would be hurt.
What they did was decided that the best way to cover this up is to blame a snake.
So after he started asking tough questions, the Army changed its story. Cause of death? Undetermined. Manner of death? Undetermined.
There's something wrong with that. I need to know what happened to Private Murberg to make sure that this doesn't happen to some other soldier going through that same training course.
Hey, Terrence. Back from the fort.
Each time Mike Murberg plays that final message, it helps him hold on to Aaron's memory. The Army turned over his son's ashes and dog tags. Now what he wants most are answers.
Are you any closer today to knowing the truth than you were almost 2 years ago?
No answers and no apologies.
I love you. Want to see you soon. And bye.
Doug Smith, Fox 13 News.
Well, the Army's Criminal Investigation Command says they are now looking into Private Murberg's death. A public affairs officer told Doug that the Army's policy is not to comment on any ongoing investigation until it is officially closed.
I need to know what happened to Private Murberg.
That was Congressman Bill Young's position before our investigative report aired. After he watched it, the congressman fired off this two-page letter to the Secretary of the Army, which begins, on May 24th, Fox 13 News in Tampa ran a story on the death of Private First Class Aaron Murberg. There are several troubling aspects to the story that I would like the Army to address.
Are you any closer today to knowing the truth than you were almost 2 years ago?
No answers and no apologies.
Mike Murberg lost his son Aaron, who died alone in the North Carolina woods while training to become a Green Beret. The Army's autopsy report concluded that Private Murberg died from multiple bites on the hand from this water moccasin, which the Army captured and killed.
You call it the snakebite story.
Yeah, it is. It's nothing but a snakebite story.
But after Mike Murberg started asking tough questions and demanded the Army's records, the snakebite story didn't hold up. The autopsy photos don't show any bite marks on Private Murberg's hands.
His hands look exactly the same. They're symmetrical. They're perfect.
Congressman Bill Young asked Pinellas County Medical Examiner John Thogmartin to review the evidence. He told Fox 13 that heat exhaustion is a far more likely cause of death. The mapping exercise took place during a record-breaking heat wave.
It was far too hot.
Mike Murberg says his son never should have been out here that day, and the Army broke its own rules.
The exercise should have been black flagged. It should have been stopped.
Murberg believes the Army found and killed the snake to cover up mistakes so nobody's career would be hurt. The Army later changed the cause of death from snakebite to undetermined. But Congressman Young's letter says the family deserves a better answer. And the snakebite story only fueled questions about the legitimacy of the investigation and the Army's integrity in trying to determine the truth of the matter.
The family deserves closure.
Doug Smith, Fox 13 News.
An extraordinary move by the U.S. Army, admitting mistakes were made and changing U.S. Army training policy after a Fox 13 investigation. Well, the Army first said a poisonous snake killed PFC Aaron Murberg, but investigative reporter Doug Smith found several flaws in the Army's findings. And tonight, Doug reports that the U.S. Army is doing an about-face and promising the soldier's father major changes in Green Beret training.
The stars were out in Pasco County in the middle of the afternoon for an unlikely meeting inside this barn. A 4-star, 2 3-stars, and a 1-star. The Army's top generals. They flew in from Washington to try to explain to Mike Murberg how his son died.
I hope we're all here to make it right.
Murberg lost Aaron, an Army private, 2 years ago, but the pain never leaves. This barn is the place he comes for healing, a place to rest, paint, and get lost in this picture, which still tears him up.
Every time I see a sunset, I remember my son telling me about the orange and blue. Every time I see the sun come up, I think about his death. Every time I see the sun go down, I think about his death.
Murberg went into this barn briefing hoping to get the long overdue answers he's been fighting for.
You know, I've prosecuted over 3,500 cases. I'm no neophyte here, so you're going to have to do a lot of convincing.
Congressman Bill Young and his wife Bev are both strong supporters of the military and they've been working closely with Mike Murrow.
Get this man closure on his son's death.
We talked to over 225 folks. We went all over the world to find the folks that were in this particular
This is
course.
after the diagnosis of the snakebite?
Yes.
It's that snakebite story that brought everybody here. Private Murrow died alone in the North Carolina woods while training to become a Green Beret. The exercise took place during a record-breaking heat wave. But the Army's autopsy report concluded that Private Murrow died not from heat exhaustion, but from multiple bites on the hand from this water moccasin, which the Army captured and killed.
The most important thing was to get the documents and the photographs.
Pinellas County Medical Examiner John Thogmartin agreed to take a look at the case and immediately spotted a problem. The autopsy photos don't show any bite marks.
Even in his state of decomposition, you could probably tell that there would be something wrong with one hand versus the other hand.
But the pictures don't show that.
They don't show that. No, his hands look exactly the same. They're symmetrical. They're perfect.
Dr. Thogmartin told Fox 13 that heat exhaustion is a far more likely cause of death. And after we started taking a closer look at the case, the Army's top generals took notice.
Somebody gave the command to find the snake and bring it on in, even though there were no signs of snakebite on my son's body. And that, to me, stinks. It stinks to high hell of cover-up.
We found no evidence of cover-up.
General Torelli apologized, then admitted the Army made mistakes during its investigation.
Words can't express how we all feel.
Mike Murrow got more than just words during this 3-hour general session. The medical examiner who came up with the snakebite story will resign.
What I had perceived as a cover-up was just extraordinary stupidity on the part of a medical examiner.
In addition, the Army won't be running the mapping exercise during the hottest summer months unless absolutely necessary. It will also consider a better tracking system that automatically sends an alert when a soldier goes down, and might even implement a death review board to help prevent a breakdown in communication.
The Army is an incredibly large organization, and to have that sort of thing, come about because of my son's death gives me great solace in the fact that I have not lost my son for no good reason at all.
The meeting provided healing, and now this father's fight is almost finished.
Over my last act will be to, place a cross on the tree under which my son died, and then it'll be over.
Doug Smith, Fox 13 News.
All right, a couple of things here tonight. The Army also told Mike Murrow that he will get a final report once all the changes have been implemented. And one more thing. Congressman Bill Young said the Army's investigation was dragging, if not stone cold, until Fox 13's Doug Smith started asking the questions.